There's so much to break down, and we enjoy breaking down play-by-play. We try to be students of the game because, well, I can't do it. You can, Kyle, a little bit. And we bring Tim Roye on right now with the big game tomorrow. First question. First things, Tim, congratulations. That was a phenomenal call. And how are you doing? I hope the blood pressure's okay right now. Everything's smooth? Do we have Tim? Did I not?
Got to put him on air, man.
This button is sticking. I'm sorry, Tim. I got you now. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
That call was fantastic, and I know you're a humble dude. I just want to point out, amongst other things, there were a lot of people that had perfect angles on television and cameras and the benefit of all of that didn't pick up right away that Kyle Lowry's shot was tipped by Draymond Green. I don't know if you have 2010 vision, how that worked, but that's something you did that a lot of people missed. Congratulations on that.
Well, I appreciate that. I had a great angle. We're in the second row in Toronto on the floor, and the play was to my left. So I had a really good angle. It was right in front of the Warrior bench. And then the other thing is that the ball just took a little, as soon as there was, the contested shot, the ball just did a little sideways spin. And that told me that Draymond had gotten a piece of it, and I picked up on that. And that's, but again, I had a really good angle to look at it. And unfortunately for me, that was the case. Some buildings, if that play had been made in other buildings around the league, I wouldn't have picked up on that because I would be up high or away from that corner and in the opposite corner in some places, and so it would have been very difficult to pick it up.
You're not making that call in Game 5 at Golden One Center. Let's put it that way.
Well, if it was the corner down below us, I might have been able to pick that up, but yeah, it's just the way it is right now with radio in the NBA. But I was lucky to have that angle, and also lucky to know that it's Draymond and he does crazy things.
We're always fascinated by the process for everybody. We talk to Grant all the time and other play-by-play voices around the league, and I'm always fascinated by the process. You're not your sign-off, but the end of that call when you're talking about leave the lights on at Oracle Arena, we're coming home. Is that something that you workshop a little bit, knowing that you might have what is a very seminal moment in Warriors history? Is that something that you're workshopping throughout the day just in case, or is that something that you just leave and decide on the fly, I'm going to lay out, or I'm going to come in with a line, good or bad? What is your process like leading up to a moment like that?
Well, I think it was kind of the theme was, especially after Kevin went down, the theme was just get this game, get it back to Oracle, get it back to Oracle, get the mojo back there a little bit, and then force a Game 7, and then all bets are off. And so that's what we were talking about throughout the game, Jim Barnett and yours truly, about just get this thing back to Oracle, and then we'll see what they can do on Thursday. And so I think that was in the back of my head, when it was coming down the wire. Just hang on here, get it back to Oracle, and see what you can do there, and see if we can force a Game 7.
Tim Roye joining us, voice of the Warriors. As I said in the lead up to this, obviously there's a lot of drama and a lot of talking heads in regards to Kevin Durant's injury, and here's what I'm not going to do. I'm not going to bring the play-by-play voice of a team on and ask him to comment on the team's medical staff. What I will ask you about is Steph Curry following Kevin Durant to the locker room, Kevin Durant having his arm around Andre Iguodala's shoulder. For all the talk and narrative, and to be honest, some of it fair, we had the video of the Draymond Green Kevin Durant spat earlier this year. It really seems, and I don't know if this is something that's happened lately. I don't know if this is something that's been there all year, and we, and I mean me, not you, but us in the media have missed. It really does seem like there is a deep bond between Kevin Durant and those teammates, and maybe not the fan base, but certainly with those teammates.
Yeah, and I think going back to when Kevin Durant was trying to decide what to do with his basketball career. And, the Warriors didn't, the general manager was there, but they asked him, hey, we're going to go talk to Kevin. They came as a group. And I remember Kevin's, comment was, it seemed like they were talking like as one, like there was one voice in the room. And so I think he wanted that kind of relationship. And the fact that one of the reasons why the Warriors are the Warriors is that they're able to survive the spats and the egos and everything else. And what you saw from Steph Curry is exactly why they're able to keep all this together. Is that Steph is Steph. He's an unselfish guy. He's most down-to-earth superstar you could ever meet, and he cares about everybody. And that wasn't for the cameras. That's who Steph is, and the fact that he was doing that right in the middle of a game, and Andre's there as well. I think it just shows that they weren't there just to help a guy get off the floor. They were there to help Kevin Durant, handle this moment with his, basketball life staring right in the face.
I want to transition back real quick to the game if we can here. How much of an impact because Nick Nurse, the Raptors are rolling and the Warriors can't seem to hit a shot. It looks like their legs might be leaving them a little bit. And then Nick Nurse calls back-to-back timeouts with just over 3 minutes left, and it seemed like that gave the Warriors kind of a second win. Their jump shots started falling. They started flying around on defense again and got some huge stops. How much do you think those timeouts kind of swung Game 5 in the Warriors' direction?
It did, but I understand entirely what Nick Nurse was doing there, because if you look at Kawhi Leonard the last time up the floor, he was gassed, and he needed to regroup. And, Kawhi is still not the Kawhi of 3 years ago. As great as he is and as unbelievable as he has been in this playoffs, he is still, physically not the guy he was a couple of years ago. And I think Nick Nurse looked out there and said, if I keep this going, he's going to run out of gas and they're going to get right back, to the lead. I need to give him a break. And so, and it was interesting too, because Kyle Lowry, when he had the ball, kept looking over to the bench like he expected the Raptors to take a timeout. Like he almost knew the same thing. So now I was a little surprised he took the two. He said, well, he was going to lose one. I'm an old school guy. I would have ran that group out until the mandatory timeout, just to see how big of a lead I would have gotten, and then give them the rest and whatever. And if you take your last time out somewhere down the way, you give another breather, that's fine. I would have run out the run, but I understand entirely what he was trying to do there.
Tim, I got to ask you, coming out of that game and coming into this Game 6, I think losing Game 5 the way the Raptors did can have a really negative effect on their psyche, especially coming into a Game 6 in a Oracle Arena that is going to be a madhouse. Do you think if the Warriors jump out to an early lead, that losing Game 5 the way that the Raptors did can really affect their psyche tonight?
Well, I think it might affect some of their guys, but I don't think it's going to affect Kawhi Leonard. I'm really questioning the fact of whether or not he's human right now.
Yeah,
I think it's some sort of a cyborg in there that's
right.
See ball, get ball.
Bucket.
Bucket. He. I don't think it's going to affect him, and he's been there before. He's been in the final moments with San Antonio when they're playing Miami, and they had that unbelievable series, beautiful basketball, but. So I think it could affect some of their other guys. It's a big stage, and the finals are totally different than even a conference finals. It's a different vibe. It's a different, everybody's there. There's 50 different languages broadcasting the game. The media sessions are entirely different, and so I think the deeper this series goes, actually, I think the better it is for the Warriors, because I think. Toronto's been going with a short rotation, and I think that's going to wear on them as this series goes down. And I think also too that the magnitude of the moment, starts to sink in the closer you get to the absolute end. And so I'm hoping that comes into play for the Warriors, but I don't think it will affect Kawhi Leonard.
Talking with Warriors radio play-by-play voice Tim Roye. Tim, it looked like Steve Kerr took Alfonso McKinney kind of out of the rotation last game, or at least late last game, and then he was playing Jordan Bell in the fourth quarter. Did we maybe see the last of that little switch in the rotation by Kerr?
No, I don't think so. Just because he needed fresh bodies out there, and he wanted to stay with a little bit of a bigger lineup, and so. To make sure they were getting defensive rebounds. So I think Steve Kerr will continue to try any and all combinations that he can get off his bench. And I think in particular, maybe in Game 6, maybe it is Alfonso McKinney who plays more. But maybe in Game 7, maybe Jordan Bell gets another run. Or Joe Jerebko for a couple of minutes. Somebody. I think he's going to try all kinds of combinations because now, without Durant, he has to replace some firepower. So if somebody comes in and hits a couple of shots, then I think that player's going to stay on the floor for a while because they need that kind of productivity. And that's why, I think a real key player for the Warriors in these last two games is going to be DeMarcus Cousins.
Tim Roye joining us. Tim, I want to be clear before I say this. I've thought, as many have since last summer, that there's just no way the Warriors lose, and the key there was barring injury this year. And I feel like it is the greatest team ever assembled on the floor. Again, barring injury. Well, we've got injury here. So for me, in Game 6 and 7, now that the Raptors know there's no Kevin Durant, and they can game plan full-time around that, Kevon Looney's hurting, as you said. It's not like DeMarcus is full strength. Neither is Klay Thompson. There's so many things going against the Warriors. I have such a tough time, Tim, seeing them pulling out 2 in a row against the Raptors. If that were to happen, in your opinion, does that just come down to experience, intangibles, and I don't want to say the Raptors don't have heart, but heart? I mean, on paper it's one way, but is this going to have to come down to those things we can't put on paper?
Yeah, it might. It might come down to that because you're right. Because now, Toronto can go back and do what they were doing before, which is they're going to, Steph Curry is going to see multiple defenders. We'll probably see that box and one again.
Yep.
So I think, the non-scorers of the Warriors have to do things to negate that, and so that's going to be a big thing. But I think you're absolutely right. I think if the Warriors win this, then I think there's no doubt and no more debate, about their place in history.
Yeah.
And I think there's no more debate about those intangibles on this team, that they do have, the Rudy Tomjanovich heart of a champion going for them. And so yeah, this could be, in these last two games, this could be their finest hour.
The one drama thing I do want to ask you about, because you were on the floor, there's been so much talk about the reaction of Raptor fans in the arena and out in Jurassic Park when Kevin Durant went down. We tried to make the point yesterday, as disgusting as that was, that fans are fanatics and people do stupid things, and we've seen stupid things happen throughout this series, fans, owners, whatever. Was it, I don't want to say was it as bad as it seemed on TV, but when you looked at that situation, did you see both sides, or is that just bottom line one of the grossest things you've ever seen?
Well, for me, first of all, I don't think it's reflective of the entire fan base.
Sure.
I don't think it's reflective of Toronto, of the country of Canada. I was walking around Toronto with a Warrior polo on, and some guy stopped me. I thought, oh, no, I got Warrior gear on. He's going to give me a hard time. Because my finals experience has been in Cleveland. So,
Right.
So, and those people, they take it a little more serious than most. Okay.
Right.
So, the guy goes, hey, it's a good-looking polo. Welcome to Canada. And we go, oh, my God, this is great. Right. But it was palatable. It was palatable. It was definitely, a cheer, and then you got a guy, people were waving goodbye to him, and he's still on the floor, for God's sakes. I'm trying to be positive and say, okay, they got caught up in the moment where they thought, okay, he's going down, we're going to win. We're going to win the title.
Yep.
And so maybe that overwhelmed them. But the fact that their players had to come out and say, no, what are you doing? That was a little. I was really surprised, to be honest with you. I was kind of shocked.
Last thing for you, Tim. I don't think I've ever asked you this before, and if I have, I apologize. What do you do with your rings? And do you break them out? Are you a put them in the drawer guy? What do you do?
I insure them. That's what I
do. That's right. Is there a situation like a dinner, an awards banquet, where you just you need a little extra bling in there? Come on.
Well, if I go to a speaking engagement, I might break one of them out.
Okay.
Simply because the people who see it, that may be the only time they get close to a ring like that. And
sure.
And granted, I have a staff ring, I don't have a player ring, so there's a big difference there.
Right.
But they're still wonderful and tremendous and awesome. And occasionally, like if I go to a dinner party and somebody says, hey, why don't you bring, hey, my cousin's coming over, can you bring over, one of the rings or something like that? And I'll say, okay, sure. I'll do that. But most of the time they stay locked up and heavily insured.
Gotcha. I'm just glad you're not I leave them in the drawer. They never see the light of day. I mean,
I try to I try to do it with people so that they have fun with it, and that they can see it and enjoy it. So I try not to do it too much. Once in a while, wear it out with going out for dinner or something like that, but not too much.
People ask you to put it on every once in a while.
They do, and then my line's the same. Wherever, if I have it with me, I say you can put it on, but if it doesn't come off the finger comes with me.
Tim Roye's got one of the biggest calls of his life tomorrow, and I think Warrior fans would say hopefully 2 more calls this year, but certainly the final game, we do know this, no matter what, the final game at Oracle, and even me, a diehard Kings fan, can tip my cap to that crowd throughout the years. That is a raucous atmosphere, and I imagine it's going to be about as loud as it's ever been, if not louder. Tomorrow, we'll be listening for you. I know you're busy, and we appreciate you giving us some minutes. Good luck tomorrow, Tim.
Oh, thank you, Denver. I appreciate that. I've been really lucky that throughout my broadcasting career in the NBA, I've had 2 really great buildings that were loud and with great fan base to work in, Arco and Oracle. And that's not to be taken for granted, because I knew going into both buildings every night, I never had to worry about energy. The energy was going to be inside the building.
Well, here's to you and Gary Gerald facing off one of these days in the playoffs, huh?
Oh, we got to get that done. I thought it was going to be this year, too. I really did. I really wanted it to be this year.
We need to rekindle the Mayor's Cup from back in the day.
There we go. Yes. Yes.
All right, buddy.
Exactly.
Always appreciate you. Thanks, Tim.
You're listening to The Drive.